Sean Joseph, and Marilyn Levin.
Thanks for letting me speak. I've been reading labor history lately, a book by Sidney Lenz called The Labor Wars. And I think it's important to understand from the history of the labor movement the ups and downs of that movement. And as I read the words on the page, you see a year or several years or a lifetime get compressed into a page or a paragraph or a part of the paragraph. The ups and downs, struggles, privations, successes and failures compressed. And I think that's an important thing to think about as we organize in the anti-war movement, as we struggle with the ups and downs here of bringing millions of people out, then hundreds of people out, then thousands the next day, and so forth. Life is short, patience may be shorter, but I think the lesson of the labor movement is important. That there are events that take place because of this system, because of these wars, that create a reaction that's inevitable. Things are happening in Afghanistan now that cannot be deflected, spun, or dumped into the weekend news cycle. Things are happening in Palestine. Things are happening in our own communities that require organization. And I would just suggest, in order to do that, we have to have a movement which is honest, which is radical, not because it feels good, although it does, but not because it feels good, but because the reality we confront is radical, because the events themselves call out for radicalism. End the wars on Iraq and Afghanistan, bring all the troops home now, free Palestine, end USA to Iraq, organize yourselves, and demand everything you want. Thank you.
Okay, I have a brief statement to read from Project Salam and then a few words to say for myself. My name is Marilyn Levin, and I'm from the United National Anti-War Committee, UNAC. This is a statement from Project Salam. Project Salam sends greetings of solidarity to all of you who have come to Washington today to stand up for peace and justice. We are with you all the way. For years, Project Salam has been working to stop the demonizing and scapegoating of Muslims. The FBI is engaged in a program of preemptive prosecution in which it convicts innocent Muslims of fake or contrived crimes. It is part of the government's preemptive war in Iraq and its preemptive incarceration of innocent Muslims at Guantanamo. Now the FBI is coming after the peace activists, claiming that they support terror. What a joke! The U.S. government is invading Muslim countries, bombing communities, assassinating families with drone missiles, kidnapping and torturing individuals. It is the government that is creating terror by the perpetuation of its wars abroad and its repression of civil liberties at home. It is essential that we all stand together, Muslim, non-Muslim, peace activists, and civil libertarians. We are the real America that is open, fair, and tolerant. We reject unfair and illegal attacks on Muslims and peace activists. We want the law applied equally for all. We want the government to stop the bombing and killings abroad. We want to fight terror with schools and hospitals, not bombs and repression. From the bottom of our hearts, we thank you for all that you are doing. You are the real America that we can be proud of. Peace and justice for all. Okay, now I'm going to say a few brief words, and we're going to wrap it up. In Albany this summer, 800 activists and leaders from all the anti-war and social justice movements gathered to say, we've had enough of sitting back. We were strong, and then we got sidetracked by the elections. We thought it was Bush's wars and deficits and cuts and privatizations that we hated. We thought it was Cheney, Rumsfeld, Ashcroft, and the neocons that were the problem. Now we have Obama's wars, occupations, and coups. We have this administration's bailouts for the banks and insurance companies and the already obscenely rich. It's Holder's FBI that is going after activists and Muslims. We have escalation of wars and trillions are spent. $3 billion a year goes to Israel to oppress and rob the Palestinians. We know, 1 minute, we know that this money would pay to meet human needs, not kill people. We increase sanctions on Iran and threaten to attack. We send drones and assassins to Pakistan. What happened? We stopped marching against the empire. In Albany, we formed UNAC to carry out a year of actions culminating in national mass mobilizations April 9th in New York and San Francisco. Come to a mass meeting November 6th in New York City to launch plans for these actions. We demand jobs, not wars. Bring the troops, mercenaries, and more dollars home now, and we'll keep marching until they do.
Penny Hess of the African People's Solidarity Committee.
Uhuru! Yes! A member of the African People's Solidarity Committee. We are an organization of white people working under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party and Chairman Omali Yeshitela that leads the Uhuru movement. We work in the white communities to organize other people just like ourselves to recognize that this country was built on war, on slavery, and on genocide against the indigenous people. We are here as white people in solidarity with the Black is Back coalition today. We stand with Black is Back in recognizing that President Obama, U.S. President Obama, is an imperialist president. He continues and deepens the imperialist agenda inside this country and around the world. And we recognize that it's not enough just to stand for peace. We unite with the Black is Back in saying that we must stand for the liberation and victory to the people of Afghanistan, the people of Iraq, the people of Palestine, and oppressed peoples around the world. And we also recognize that the U.S. is waging a war right here inside this country against the African community. That there are 2.5 million people in concentration camps called prisons, and half of them are African. We recognize that the U.S. is waging the same kind of war, the counterinsurgency, that it is waging against the people of Afghanistan, against the people of the African community right here inside the U.S. And we say that reparations are due to the African community, and we call on everybody to come to African People's Solidarity Day, November 6th in Philadelphia. Uhuru!